Hello everyone, this video will cover Module 12. Module 12 is the last module for the research paper. So in this module, you will turn in the final draft of the paper that you've been working on for several modules now. And I'm just going to go over what's in the module. There's not much because the main thing that I want you to do this week is work on revising your essay. So if you remember in the previous module, Module 11, you submitted to the Writing Center and you did your peer edit. So now you need to go back in and look at the feedback that you got from both places, as well as from instructor feedback that you got all the way back in Module 10. You should have feedback from your rough draft. So to view the feedback, you're going to go into the draft itself and you're going to click on Submission Details, and then you'll see your file. And then once you see your file kind of in the middle of the page, you'll also see view feedback. And so for your rough draft, that's where you'll see my comments. So you'll see little bubbles on the side with my comments, and then I'll leave you some overall feedback. For the peer edit, you will get the bubble comments from at least 2 students, as well as some rubrics. And so hopefully 2 students, and then some rubrics as well. Now, if you did not get any peer feedback at all, make sure that you send me an email and I can see what's going on with that. Everyone should be doing 2 peer edits, and only students who submitted a draft to the peer edit assignment will get a draft to respond to. However, not everyone ends up completing both of their peer edits. So if you don't have any feedback at all on the peer edit, let me know. Well, you should get at least one. So in the module 12, you have your to-do list, and included on the to-do list is looking at your online writing lab instructor and peer comments to improve your draft, and making sure that you have worked on all of that in order to create a final draft. Obviously, you have the criteria in here again, just as a reminder for what you should be working on. And then we have a link to the Purdue OWL if you need help with the citations. So that's a good resource for you. And then finally, the spot to submit the research paper. So this is the final draft of the research paper. It is worth 150 points. So it's worth more than our other essays in this class, because we've spent a lot more time on it. And so it's really important that you spend some time proofreading this essay. I recommend printing it out and going through it in printed copy. Reading it out loud is another good strategy to make sure that you've edited it. Don't rely on just your peers and the writing lab and even me to catch all of your errors. A lot of times, you know, if you have a consistent problem, the writing lab in particular and I will just go over, you know, the first couple of mistakes will point out to you, but after that point, you're the one who needs to go through and edit that. So just keep that in mind. There's also, of course, the rubric here. The rubric is a little bit more detailed because we have a lot more criteria for this assignment. In the in-text research and documentation and the works cited page are separated out. So there's some different things for this rubric. Just make sure you read through the description and make sure that you feel like your essay fits within the rating that you want for the essay, so for the final draft of the essay. So a couple of things that students commonly have mistakes on: thesis statements, not having an assertion for the thesis. That is something that I look at in the outline, but I also look at in the rough draft to make sure that you're doing well on the thesis and that your thesis is actually a point, a controlling idea that you can support within the essay, so your essay has a focus. And then organization with topic sentences where students are not transitioning very well between sections. So you want bridges between each section, so you're linking information, not only information to previous information, but also all the way back to the thesis, constantly keeping in mind the main point that you're trying to make within that section. And then, of course, the same thing it goes with including information from sources. If you're going to include a quote or a statistic, that you explain the importance of that quote or that statistic. So those are the common problems that students have. Other than mistakes in documentation, making sure that the first part of the works cited entry is what you're using as that reference throughout the essay. So if you have a source that does not have an author, whatever title you wrote first on the works cited entry is what you're going to use to reference that source throughout the essay, and keeping that consistent and making sure you format that title that same way every time. Those are just mistakes that students make pretty often. So if you have questions about your essay, of course, you can always email me, but I will give you feedback through that rough draft assignment. So if there's questions that you have about my feedback, you certainly can let me know as well. Like I said, this is the big essay for the semester, so giving yourself a little bit of time to make sure you proofread carefully and really put some effort into making sure that this is a nice, clean, edited paper would be a really good idea. So hopefully you're doing well, and I hope you have a great